Hi.
Good afternoon, friends. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you for hanging out with us on Sunday Connections. This is my lovely friend Nancy Jean from Nancy Jean's Garden, and this is Nancy Jean's Garden.
No, this is the past life garden. Yeah.
Yes, it's Past Life Garden. Um, so we're here to do past life readings. Um, do you want to just really quick tell them a little bit about the past life reading garden oracle cloth, just so people
Yeah.
sort of get an
Okay.
understanding of
This
what that
this
is?
is one of the ways you can do past life readings. It involves using a pendulum, and then it's got four stones, and the two ancestor stones, the two ones that were to relate to before, is a piece of amber
Here, I'm gonna pull it. I'm gonna
and a
pull
piece
the
of
cloth
petrified
into.
wood.
There you go.
Okay, and a piece of petrified wood, and those two significate the things that have been alive before and they're now part of the world of crystals. Then while you're looking at crystals, I've got some citrine for luck and adventure and fortune of the project, and a beautiful piece of more or less clear quartz. um, it's it's very nice for rolling and for tossing into the garden. And what we do is we take someone's question and toss it in and see if we can come up with an answer for them. How do past lives help us now? Hi, Sharon Saipai, hi, Sinmin, hi, Tammy, and hi, G. Covington. That's all the people I'm going to talk to because otherwise I can't think about what I'm thinking about. When there's several ways you can, I started reading past lives. Actually, I was introduced to an in depth concept of past lives by an astrologer I studied with. And um, what she taught me, and I think it's pretty much true, is we all have a string of past lives. I mean, you got tons and some have tons and tons and tons. Very few people walking around the earth today are newbies, have not been here before. And um, what happens from those past lives is they your this life you encompass three, maybe four of them, big ones that are gonna you're gonna run into. What It's what builds your karma. And I see when I started reading past lives, I had this reading I did, and it was supposed to be an in-depth look at the person. And I channeled when I was reading it that three of the cards were the life before, three of the cards were this life, and the card in the middle says where they're settled with this life. And that's the first thing I used to use to see lots of people's past lives. Then I have a longer past life reading where I start with the Spirit Seven, we isolate the life, and then I use these Luna Soul Tarot
Yep.
to do a 4x4 and do an in-depth look at that past life and see, among other things, how you lived, how you died, kind of the adventures that have in that, and which ones carry into this life. That's basically the same thing I can see with the Spirit Seven, but a lot more detailed.
Right.
And then I can use this one to do a quick look at a past life or to do an in depth look at a past life. There are ways to read past lives where you can figure out what year you were born in, what era are we looking at,
Yep.
whether you're male, whether you're female, and all that kind of stuff. And I use a lot of pendulum stuff to do that. I normally don't do those readings during this kind of a show because y'all don't want to see just one life. It's a long
Yep.
process to do that. Now, what do you do with the past life? Um, you can come to understand. A lot of times when I read someone's past life, they'll go, "You're right. I don't like to be enclosed in tiny places. I don't like dark things. I really don't like the hot. I don't like the cold because it has something to do with that life." One of the past lives that kind of amazed me was I was hypnotized by Brian Weiss at a convention. I mean, he hypnotized the whole room, wasn't just me. But what I saw was a tiny little woman in China who, and I could hear her whole backstory in my head. And it was that she'd worked very, very hard to make people make changes that were just necessary for them to be able to survive. And um, I was at the last point of her life, and I was in a dark street, and I knew the people were coming to get me, to kill me, because if they killed me, then that eliminated the connection between them and how all this had happened, and they didn't want to be implicated. So I and at that point in my life, I was getting out of politics and quitting a lot of other things, and I began to realize that's kind of what would happen. I was really good at organizing things and getting things up. But then when it came down to, well, who did this and who did that and how was it all connected? A lot of people didn't want me to be known, so I would get shunted to the side. So I decided I didn't want to live in a world that did that to people anymore. So I got out. That's one way you can use past lives. Some people think past lives are indications of illnesses that they didn't heal themselves from before. um, I'm not great on reading illnesses, but I think that's totally valid. Valid. Um,
I think it's important to mention that like my experience when you did my first reading,
right.
it provided a lot of answers, as you alluded to earlier, but it also gave me a sense of understanding where
Hmm.
I could stop beating myself up, or stop doubting myself, or stop questioning myself in terms of my anxiety and my fears and or phobias, and where those might have come from. So in my mind, it provided me with a great sense of healing as well as understanding.
And I would hope it would do that. My biggest hesitancy about doing past lives when I was first starting to do them is sometimes people will latch onto something in an unhealthy manner,
Right.
and you'll tell them, "Oh, you were a really beastly person in the 1800s, and you blah 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 blah," and they'll go, "Oh, I can't ever outrun that karma." Well, nothing that goes on around us can not be. You get the light shown on it at a time when you need to consider it. I would not want to enable anyone
No,
to
100%.
use either any other kind of reading, but in particular that one, as an excuse.
Yeah.
I think you need to look at the material realistically and then decide how to work with it. And Kelly did.
Yeah.
Most people right now are,
Yeah.
because it's a time to get healthy.
Absolutely. Let's say hi to everyone in the chat. Lots of lovely people here. Appreciate all of you being here. Um, a high cup of tea with $3 worth of sugar and cookies. Love the name. Nancy Jean just explained all of that about how do you do a past life reading. She uses the Oracle Garden, or the Past Life Garden, which you
Hmm.
see sort of below us on the table. And she also uses tarot cards to do readings. Now, Nancy Jean put up a post on her community tab, and we've already got some questions. But to keep it fair, because I didn't do that, which is my bad. I see that Hypnocity has a question here, and G Covington has a question. So we'll sort of like mix them up. That's what
Hmm.
we'll do. Okay. Um, I just want to say hi to everybody. As I said, Cup of Tea is here. Sharon Sipe is in the house. Anna Banana, G Covington, Engla is here. Thank you, Engla, for being here. Hi, Hypnocity. Good to see you. Who else?
Aries
Aries
girl
girl.
Virgo moon has shown up, and she's a reader also, and she follows Scott and I quite faithfully on Sunday mornings. So
Oh,
that's good.
nice. And she's walking the dogs, but we'll be listening. Well, welcome, my friend. Linda's in the house. Thank you for being here. Lauren is here, and Liz T. Uh, who else is here? JR is here. Thank you, JR, for being here. Sin and Tammy Jackson. Lots of lovely people here. Thank you so much for hanging out with us on your Sunday. We appreciate it.
Okay,
Sorry, go ahead.
what's the first question we're going to put up, and then
Yep.
I'll decide which I'm going to use, cards or.
Let's do Hypnocity's question first here.
Okay.
Can you do a reading during a live stream? I would love a past life reading if you're doing them today.
Yeah, well, that's why we called it the Past Life Reading Show.
Yeah.
We do this every other week. We rotate channels. I'm going to do for you hypnicity. I'm going to do the this what I call Spirit 7.
Okay, so I'm gonna make the table bigger,
Okay,
just so that everyone can sort of see the table.
There's the table.
There you go.
And then Kelly always pulls an oracle card, which explains everything I've just said.
I'm like the closer.
Mm-hmm.
You all remember that TV show, The Closer? That's
Yes.
me. I got you, cup of tea.
Okay, I'll explain to you what you're seeing here. These 3 cards, the 2 top and the bottom one, that's the past life. These 3 cards are the current life, and this is where you are with it all right now. And in this past life, you actually had pretty much everything you wanted. But you didn't have someone, or the person who, no, when I'm reading this, is the person you were closest to, that you were married to, died early on, and so you had to kind of take care of yourself a whole lot, and you had children, and so there was some stress in this life. But really, if you concentrate and say on this life, you're in a small village, the houses are painted white. I think it's in the Mediterranean somewhere. But if you ask yourself before you go to sleep at night, your soul will connect to that link, and it'll maybe give you a dream about how that life worked for you, because the outcome of that is you got a lot of mixed messages in that life, because you married a person you should have married and did everything you're supposed to do, but it didn't quite work out. But it actually did. It actually worked out. You built a really solid base for yourself, and you came in with the feeling you have a whole lot of power, and you did build up power because you've had a feeling of big chunks of your life really going right. Right now, things are a little out of balance for you, and it won't be straightened out till spring. So some of the doubts you're feeling right now, this is your most important card here. This life prepared you to be the magician, to be able to do everything you needed to do. So hold on to the image. And if you want to call it anything, you can call it your magician life, where you learn that power and how to bring it through. You can bring it through, but it won't come until spring. What'd you get, kiddo?
What I got was, so I just got a new deck. Thank you to the person that was kind enough to gift me with this deck. These are the past life cards. It's past life oracle cards.
Brian Rice and Doreen Virtue.
Yeah. So I got transportation.
Mm-hmm.
It always makes me think of being on a journey, right?
Mm-hmm.
Traveling on a journey. Now, whether you're traveling from your past life to your current life and bringing something with you, or just feeling like you never actually got things right. And I don't know why I feel that way, but that's what I'm sort of getting. And I thought this was interesting because I've got karmic relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure if there's someone in your life, Hypnicity, that you feel like, when you meet someone, you're like, I feel like I've known you before, or I feel like I've known you forever, and we just met a few, like a few hours or a few days or a few weeks before that. That's interesting to me. And the third card that I got was rigid. And rigid is about breaking down barriers and sort of softening your edges, maybe not being so resistant to change.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if those are things that you deal with or not. I think that seems pretty vague. Most of us have issues at one point or another where we have to break down our barriers, but that's what I got for you. Just keep that in mind.
No,
So
I think you're on the verge. I think you're putting the information together in your head on how to deal with it. And if when you said transportation and I said the Mediterranean, where I saw her living was in a village in an area that had lots of little white houses, and I think they were a place that people came and went from.
interesting. There you go. See, that's why Nancy Jean is here. She helps
Okay.
us put the puzzle pieces together. Okay, so now we're going to go to this is a question. Now, I had to separate this into two parts because of the way that I did it. So this was put on Nancy Jean's community tab from Diana O. My sister Linda, born February 13th, 1960, is in a second battle with breast cancer. This time she's been treated for over 2 years. Is there a past life connection? And then there's a second part to that says, I believe she and I have been together in other lifetimes. Is there anything I can do to help her spiritually or in any way? Thank you.
Okay. Go back to the first part. Okay, she's in this year. On the way I do it is, I believe that your personal year changes at your birthday. Numerologists, a lot of them think it happens at the first of the year. So you figure out which way you think it cuts for her. But she went she went from okay. I want to make sure my numbers are right. 6 and 6. She's in a 3-year, which in personal year times numerologically means she's had to talk to people, she's had to deal with a lot of people. I don't know when she was diagnosed, but the second battle started in her 2-year. But she's going into in 2023, she'll be in a 4-year. And 4 years are years that you build a new base for your life. And it also can be a time that seems like it's full of a lot of struggle because you're having to figure out what to hold on to and what to let go of. And I remember I thought that when I saw it. So let's see. The first one we're going to look at is there a path? I'm going to ask just yes for me, and this is this way, and no is this way. Okay. And I'm going to do is there a past life connection for Lydia in her illness? Yes, there was a past life connection. Now let's see if I can figure out what life. A lot of cancer has to do with guilt energy. Not that she did anything wrong, but energy she carries forward that might feel. Okay, in the past life we're looking for, was she male or female?
It's really interesting that you just said that, Nancy Jean, because I've got, I pulled an oracle card here that says, into the temple of your truth, and learn to value it. So that speaks to me about, standing in your power and knowing who you are and standing up for yourself, right?
Well, she was a female, and she had power in that life. When I asked which sex she was, I got she was female. And what major point do I need to look at for her is with regards to this? It's power. It's a power struggle within inside of herself.
Yep.
So I'm going to see.
Look at what I got. I got phase entanglement, emotional influence.
And
then I also got a monk or a nun.
Yes, I think that's what she was.
Yeah, very spiritual person. Which could be the guilt, right? The truth that she's.
Destiny, she lived in the shadow of her ancestors. Clarity can come from the past life. And the thing she needs to seek most is harmony. And I do believe she's a person in the church, not medieval church, but in the church and 17, 1800s in Europe in the Catholic Church, where females ran a whole lot of the stuff, but they were given none of the power to really run the stuff. And that builds up in you, and it builds up a resentment that can be hard to throw off.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's see about you two. How can that help her? She just needs to make sure she damn well doesn't do anything that makes her resentful. Now she's already got cancer, so how can you not feel? But she can feel happy if they're giving her treatment that's really working.
Yeah.
What's the second part of her question?
Really quick, that I got the elemental card, and that is nature spirits in the 4 elements. I don't know if she's received, like, if someone's like sort of not being kind to her in her treatments. There's something about that truth card that just keeps speaking to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So using her voice, tell her, that it's okay for her to say how she feels if she feels some sort of way about something, right? Lots of times when you are in a situation, when you're in a hospital or a doctor's office or, whatever, no shade to the people that work there, the nurses and the doctors, but to them, that's their job. And sometimes the bedside manner can start to sort of go by the wayside as the end of the day sort of approaches, and they've already looked after 20 or 30 people. So I just want to say, if she's feeling like she's been mistreated or she needs something explained to her 4 times until she gets it, tell her to stand in her truth and speak up for herself, right? Mm-hmm. And get her outside into nature as much as possible.
Yes, nature heals. Right now we have an enormous shift energetically. Subatomic particles are hitting our planet at a level that hasn't happened in almost 13,000 years. Yeah. And it's a time, that's part of our ascension. That's a time of all of us changing. And she can change into a new cancer-free self, working with whatever they find might work with her. I would never tell anyone to not work with their doctors, but trust me, I am the first person in line to tell people to go take it and jump if I don't think the treatment they're giving me is right. Yeah, what's Diana O's second question?
That she believes that they've been together in other lifetimes.
Yeah, we told you what you can help her with spiritually. Yeah. And part of the problem is I think your sister may have turned her back on organized religion because she was in it so deeply in the past life.
Yeah.
So, but I was raised a Christian, and most of my first references to understanding spirituality come out of the Christian tradition. Trust me, I understand. I was married to a minister too, so I know a whole lot of things that are not right about the church. But there is still things and patterns we learn there. The good parts of religion, what stayed with them, and she might need that kind of bringing an order to her life. And if you can help her with that, I don't know where you are on your journey, but be there for her and listen for those chances to bring that out. And that would be helpful. Oh. Okay. Where do we go next, kiddo?
Okay. Next we're going to go to Tammy Jackson. So Tammy Jackson says, I want to help my mom. She is struggling with her beliefs at the end of her life. She was brought up in religion and has a lot of fear, guilt, pain, grief that she is carrying and seems a bit lost at the moment. I don't know if you can read on her and see what she needs to realize or release now so that she can find peace. Her name is Deborah.
Okay. I'm just going to take a quick look with the Spirit 7 because it's your mother and a situation she's in. Normally, I won't read on anyone unless they're here.
Yeah.
I mean, as in they've requested.
Yeah. Just want to say hi to everyone who's popped in, Rose Blue and Lise, and appreciate everyone being here, and thank you for your patience as we roll through all the questions. And like I said, there was some questions that were put up on Nancy Jean's community tab, and then some of y'all have put the questions in here in the chat. So
Tammy, you may find this hard to believe because I know you've had difficulties with her in the past. But this is the past life she lived, and she gave up her strength in order to enable herself to move forward. But she came out of a very, very successful world. Now, this lifetime, she came in. She's actually had it easier than she doesn't see it as easier, but she's had a much easier life. And I don't think she's going to go through too many more times. And I don't know if you praying to your angels to help her understand that she's not being ripped off. She just feels like there was so much in this life she just wanted to get away from and move on. And she didn't ever do that successfully. But she had all the opportunities to do that. And if you can call upon your angels to reach into her heart and say she could use some comforting, they may be able to give her more comfort than you can. I mean, it doesn't matter if she goes out kicking and screaming. It was the ugliest place she'd ever been. Once she crosses the bridge, she'll be released. But right now, she's hanging on because what she really like to do is there's so much stuff she'd like to dump. If she knew she could come back in and not deal with any of that, she'd be fine. But your mother came in with a very, okay. Well, I don't know, abused as a child. She came out of a world that was somewhat perfect. And this shows that all the things that happened to her so that she could be better at where she was going. And I've never understood that with child abuse, but I've seen it before.
Jamie, I'm just wondering, was your mom is your mom controlling or try to control situations around her?
Mm-hmm.
Just because I pulled that card. And so Tammy's written in the chat, abuse as a child and married a narcissist, and she also lost a son. And I'm very sorry for that. That's awful. But sometimes when you've been abused, you have a tendency to try to control your environment or control situations. It's like a defense mechanism. So that's just interesting to me that I pulled that card. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Nancy. Gina,
no, that's pretty much all I can say is
okay.
She really wants out. And if she wants to go out, make sure you tell her it's okay to go.
Okay. So Tammy says she's a very gentle person, which is good. I pulled 3 tarot cards. I got the 2 of water or the 2 of cups, right? She is all about relationships and love, right? I pulled the high priestess, and this is about your intuition, your wisdom, and your patience. It's about that like a level of understanding that we all try to aspire to. On the bottom of the deck, I've got the 10 of earth. You know, this is what makes her happy, is to know that like her legacy, her family, the foundation that she's created, the stable sort of family environment, right? She wants, you said earlier, Nancy Jean, that like about her holding on. And when you said that, and I looked at that card and I was like, okay, so this is what she's trying to accomplish. She wants to know that everything's okay.
Yeah.
Which is what most people want. The last card that I got for you, Tammy, for your mom, is cleansing waters. Purification activates vibrant life force. So, you know, doing like purifying baths, having a little like tabletop water fountain will just provide her with some comfort, right? The sound of the water, even like a noise machine that has like gentle water sort of sounds to it, could just keep her more comfortable. Tammy says, I believe she was an empath like me. She goes along with everyone else. And the loss of my brother was devastating. She never recovered. I'm so sorry for your whole family's loss. That's tragic. I hope that makes some sort of sense to you, Tammy. So next up we have sorry, wrong comment. G. Covington. I didn't have children in this life. Is the reason because I had so many in past lives and needed a break? I love the question.
Okay. We're going to ask about Yeah, you did. I can sense you had a lot of children, and I'm just going to roll into the garden about the life we're looking at, and I'm assuming I'll swing the pendulum to see if it's female, but okay. Hence my inlays. You were a male. I mean, I think one of the problems you've had with children is not from the femaleness of having a child, but from the maleness of having to support them from that angle. Doesn't mean you didn't give them emotional support, but um, you actually gained from some of your children and how they grew up. And but for you, it's more of a power thing. Now let's
Yep.
see.
Sorry, I got persecution and inquisition.
Okay, yeah, you were clearly the male in your family. Okay, did the last family before now dissolve in World War II? Yes. I think one of your hesitance about having a family is you lost your family in World War II. What'd you get?
I got imprisonment
Imprisonment,
and sorry,
slavery.
too
Mhm.
many buttons to press. I've got imprisonment or slavery.
Yeah, I saw a concentration camp.
Yeah, and I've got persecution and inquisition, and I wondered to myself, not to like take a deep dive into this, just as a statement that if you have been abused or felt some sort of way about the way that you were raised or the environment in which you were raised in, uh, that can sort of dampen your want to have
Mhm.
children because you don't want to bring them into that world, right? You don't want to have them be a part of the environment in which you were raised in, that kind of idea. And I'm not saying that that's what you were thinking currently, but maybe that was why you didn't have children, was because of the way you were raised or the
I don't
environment.
think it's how she was treated. I think she felt totally torn apart and unempowered because they took her family and they killed them, and so I
Right.
couldn't protect them. And it's more like giving your soul a chance to breathe and see that you can connect to other people and be effective without having that kind of a tie.
Absolutely, that makes sense. Okay, so that's G. Covington, and now we will move on to Sin. I think Sin is here in the chat.
Mhm.
I've been told my current health problems with skin infection and inflammation may be connected with a past life from which I'm still storing negative energies. What do you see about this? Or sorry, what do you see about these past life influences on my current life?
Okay, I'm going to see if that's even correct.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. Are the infections caused by a karmic connection to past life energy? No, I got no. That's where it went. I think. I'm going to throw in. Okay, does the past life have any effect? Well, we just lost our piece of amber, so we're not throwing any more stones today. It went in a box beside my desk. It'd take me an hour to get it out of.
Uh-oh.
So obviously that one it says no, it's not from past lives. It's things that you did to yourself in your younger life that's coming now to clarify. And if you can release some bad habits have developed within this life, it's not totally connected to a past life. It's kind of how you're running the ship now, kid.
It's literally like she's reading your mind, is it not, Sin? Sin literally just typed in the chat, yes, still here. Also note, will gladly accept any healing energy boosts. Thank you. And then look at what you just said.
There's a bunch of really good healing meditations on YouTube where you can go through your chakras and slowly clean things out,
Yeah.
and that, and follow whatever. I think your stuff's more tied to the food you put in your body,
Yeah.
the physical food, what you eat. That's what I feel. It's like what you eat now And I think now this may be the karmic connection. I think you eat things now because you starved before. And so you get into that I'm frantic and I think I'm going to starve mode, and you ingest foods you know you shouldn't have. And remember, you can be allergic to all kinds of foods that everybody else in the whole room could eat all day.
Or that
And
you
be
could have
fine.
eaten all day, every day, up until a certain point, and then
Right. And it blows up.
yeah. Really, really interesting cards I just got for you, Sin. I hope that these help, love. So
I'm going to dive down and try to find my amber.
all right, love. I got surrender unhealthy relationships. And the message on this card says, let go of relationships that don't serve you, including unavailable or toxic people. You deserve to be treasured by others and to be surrounded by positive people. I mean, that goes to everyone. But if you're having any difficulty or have had difficulty in the past, sort of maintaining your healthy boundaries, keeping people away from you that don't serve your highest good, that's just what came out. I also got from the throat chakra honesty, speaking your truth, transparency, communication, and sincerity. Right?
Yeah.
So both of those cards sort of relate to me to feeling either like you're not heard or like you're not speaking your truth or you're not able to speak your truth. So that's something. Hey, Aiden, how's it going? I hope that helps a little bit, Sim. All right.
And other sin, you also might look at the oils you're using when you cook, because there's a lot of the vegetable oils and things like that. They're the equivalent of trans fats that were in margarine. I mean, there's 100 different ways to approach this, but I really feel like it's something basic you use every day when you cook, and you're not even aware you're poisoning yourself. Hi, Aiden. How's SMU doing?
She says, have a hard time expressing truth as I have no friends or family except online.
Well, we're here. Express to us.
Absolutely.
Let it out.
Absolutely.
And also, I did keto for long enough to lose 100 pounds. And then the doctor gave me some meds that kind of screwed with my body. And then, so I've had to really change my whole eating patterns again. And now I'm losing weight again. But it meant having to let go of a lot of the really strict keto. Strict keto is the easiest thing in the world to eat. But you are eating the same things over and over again. So you never know.
Yeah, see, I couldn't do it unless it was pasta. Pasta is the only thing I can eat over and over again, which I don't recommend, friends.
I make my own. I spiralize zucchini. It works great.
That sounds really good. I love zucchini. Liz T says, had a past life reading, but another person suggested I was a guardian angel before. Is that even possible? I studied theology and seem to understand what I have to learn.
Yeah, it's possible.
I have not learned. Good for you.
It's possible. My guardian angel, my guide is Addie. And when I first saw Addie, it was in a meditation at the same thing with Brian Weiss. And she was a slave. When I ran into her, she was in a slave kitchen. She was a very tall African American. She was an African woman. She was not born here. She was brought over on a ship. And she was an angel who chose to come in and live in a human life because that she could more directly help her people go through the horrors of being brought into slavery. She told me that whole story. Then we discussed why she's my guardian. She's my guide now, which would be like a guardian angel. And when we were closing our conversation, I looked at her and I said, "You look awfully familiar, Yal. You look awfully familiar." And she said, "You know, one of my earth relatives that lives now, that started back with me then." So I was thinking about it, and I had a woman who was ex-military, beautiful woman, used to come get read every once in a while. And I looked at her when she came in and I said, I hope this doesn't make you run away from my table and never want to see me again, but I think I met one of your relatives. And she said, what? And I said, I met a woman back early in the first parts of uh, plantation life who was the person who kept the kitchen going. Um, and I said, she had this kind of a strange name. And the woman looked at me and she said, was her name Addie?
Wow.
And I said, yes. And I said, how do you know? And she said, every generation we've had Natty and no one knew why. But when you said that you'd met someone that was like that for you, it struck me. So Addie apparently could move back and forth. So if she could, I don't know why you couldn't have.
I love that.
And also, you might not have been an angel. You might have been a master figure. You may have been an ascended soul that way. I
Mhm.
know several people who are walking around right now that are ascended masters, are still ascended masters, but they walk and talk like a human. So you wouldn't know.
I pulled the angel card from the past life oracle, which is just super interesting.
Yeah.
And then I pulled this card here, which is joy and delight, which to me, now I know that this is a child, but it looks to me that it's very angelic.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Open your heart to joy.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like such a trite statement. But on a personal note, Liz, I thought that I was open to joy, but I wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
And when I started to practice gratitude and really practice and understand it, even though I thought I was grateful before, I had no idea what I was doing. I was grateful surface level, if that makes sense, like I'm grateful, I have a house and, I have a husband and I got 3 cats, whatever, but every day sucked. So that's not really gratitude. And when I started to understand what gratitude was, and that only happened when I came to this community, thank God. And then, and only then was I able to lift my vibration up high enough to be able to actually feel like I could invite joy in. And I literally felt it. Like it was an actual thing that happened. So I encourage you literally to open your heart to more joy.
Well, I don't think she's not having a joyful life. I think she's confused because how could I have been up there and now I'm here?
Yeah.
But and opening your heart to joy, it's really true. If you've had people constantly block you from saying you can't feel that,
Yeah.
you're wrong.
Yeah.
It's almost like if you let something good in, they follow it in with their hand and a knife and they stab you. And
Right.
you have to get out of that mentality. You have to say, I'm going to be happy and I don't give an F what you think.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying. Like if someone had to ask me, are you grateful? I'd be like, oh, yeah, I'm totally grateful. But I was so negative and in such a dark spot that I really wasn't being openly grateful. And I don't know if I'm explaining that right or not, but
No, you're explaining it exactly right.
okay. Liz says, thank you. I am grateful for everything. And that's excellent. That's the right way to be, right? It's the best way to be. All right. Now we move on to, whoops, I clicked the wrong button. Sorry, friends. Miss Valerie. Valerie says, I would like any past life information that is relevant to this lifetime. Please and thank you. I have very little information on my past lives.
Well, we don't until we go to look for it. And you remember you were talking about could you meet people?
Mm-hmm.
I met an airline pilot when I was working with American, and I was just I got bumped up to first class because I was traveling for corporate, and ended up sitting next to an airline pilot, and he was great fun, and I really enjoyed it. And he and I could talk. It was like someone you've known all your life. So we got off the plane. We went and had a light dinner because he was going to be late into his training thing, and my kids were being taken care of by friends. We went and had a lovely dinner. And we sat and talked, and I dropped him off at the pilot training center. And one of the things I said to him was I knew an astrologer, and he said, "Oh, that's fascinating." And he said he was born on a cusp between Virgo and Leo and Virgo. And he said, I never knew which one it was. And so I gave his information to Helen, and she did his reading, just give him that information for free. Then she did his whole chart. Then she sat down, and this is how I learned you could find people you've known before in your chart. He'd been my husband in a past life.
Oh, neat.
And he was happily married, and I was crazily in between marriages. So, nothing ever came of it because he was happily married. But so you don't know what you don't know about your past lives until they butt in. So what I'm going to do for you is I'm going to look at I want your most relevant past life in this life. Okay, this is a past life. And you never lived to be very old in this past life. And there's some feeling in you, I have to rush and get everything done, because if I don't, I have to get past this so that I can get to the next good thing, even though you had a relatively good family life. In this past life, you never lived to be very old. You wanted to be a knight. You came out of an agrarian culture. You wanted to go to the pinnacle to be a knight and ride on a horse.
Huh.
And in pursuing that, you died young. Yeah. You died young. And so this life, you've had this compulsion about, I got to hurry up, even though things are warm and happy. I got to hurry up because I have this brand new life ahead of me. I think you've been blocked either by a father figure or a husband. But right now, I don't know what's going on in your life. And part of what you need to understand about this life is all that hurry up didn't speed you to a good end. Take things in time, be patient, plant the crop, have it come through. You've got the opportunity to do that. Don't let someone else push you into going at a speed you don't want to go at, because that cost you your life in this past life. That's why when you accelerate, you start to pull back and you go, oh my God, I'm going to die. But you're not. What you got, Miss Kelly?
So I got the farm card. Sorry, let me just move myself over here. I got the farm card. Whoops. Good grief. Can't even hold on to the cards. I got the farm card.
Mm-hmm.
So you said, brought up in a good family. And when I first looked at that card, I'm thinking, like a simple sort of lovely, free kind of life, right? Where everyone worked together and supported each other. And then you said about the horse, and I just was like, wow, there's a lot of different animals on a farm, and that card just happens to have 2 horses on it. I also got finances, holding on to things tight, saving for that rainy day. And I don't know if there's a reason why you may have felt like you've had to do that, but it feels like it's like more than what we all have to do, right? We all have to watch our pennies and save. But it feels like I don't know if it's like like mad money, like, keeping it safe tucked under the mattress kind of mad money, like because you're trying to get away from something, or if it's just holding on tight because you've had to do without. So one of those 2 things. I also got baby. And when you said, Nancy Jean, that you don't think that she lived long in that past life, I sort of was just sort of getting this card. And so I don't know if that represents, that she died as a young child.
She didn't die as a young child. She died as a person who risked it and went out to become a knight or go into that training.
Okay. And so that could be, that she helped birth children, maybe like as a midwife. I mean, maybe she had lots of children. That could be sort of associated with the farm card. And then I've got ancestors, which is the
Mhm.
historical connections and purposes, which is just interesting because this is why you're asking the question, right? You're trying to tie it all together. So I'm not sure how helpful my cards were, but that's what I got.
Well, one of the
Come
things
on.
you can do is you can plant it in your mind before you go to sleep. Can I see some of my a past life? Now, that can be a real fun experience, and you all of a sudden realize why you wanted to go to a certain part of England or a certain part of Europe, or how you were always drawn to the Orient, to Asian nations, to find identities.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but you can get some answers that way. You can open yourself up for that.
Very cool. Our last question of the day is by Cup of Tea with $3 worth of sugar and cookies.
Mhm.
Who says, I would love a past life reading, please?
I'm gonna do the cards because I was reading all morning with Scott,
Yeah,
and
I know. And I thank you so much for coming here. I know that you're
no,
tired.
it's my energy. I kind of have to serve
Well,
it.
no, I mean when you've read for that long already, it takes a lot out of you.
Not as much as it used to because the topics are less grievous. A certain name does not get mentioned very much.
Yep.
There you
Yep.
go.
Oh, let's put you back. Let's put the garden back here. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you're in an interesting point in your life. Your card right now, and what's going on right now, is you're trying to let go of things that held you in. Um, yeah, you came out of a really, really rough past life. Um, and you did die quite young. You died in Europe, I think. It feels more Europe than anywhere else. And so you cleaned out so much karma in that lifetime, but there's a few things that are left. One of the things was your death was caused by sudden and rapid change, and you have a real phobia about change. But you live right now, you're happy and comfortable where you're living. You're with someone who's very calm and supportive. It's just the brat in you. You died young, and it's the brat in you that tends to worry you a little bit, but you're trying to let go of that part of yourself taking control. Um, it's not that you want to see um, abruptly premature, but you the way you express your bratdom is you kind of overspend at times, and you're trying to get that under control. And you do that because in this life, those changes came so rapidly, it seemed to have no sense at all. But you really cleaned out just a whole lot of bad karma in that lifetime, even though you didn't live to be very long. What'd you get?
I got some interesting cards. From the past life deck, I got angels again.
Mhm.
From the power of surrender cards, I've got surrender to spirit.
Mhm.
It's a beautiful image on that card.
Yeah, it is gorgeous.
Message says, once you've done everything you can do, to achieve a goal, turn the situation over to the divine. Let spirit work its magic for you. And I think that that's tying into what you said about like the complete sort of fear of change, right?
Mhm.
I got Archangel Phanuel, hope, optimism, and new beginning. So, speaking to the connection to spirit, giving things over to divine, then opens up this whole new sort of perspective and understanding to you,
Mhm.
which is lovely. And the last card that I pulled was navigating by the stars, follow your bliss.
Mhm.
Um, I say this all the time, and I don't want this to sound trite, but like I'm one of those people that gets a lot of power out of the moon. I like that time of night. I like to go out there and look up at the stars, and it's very calming and very serene to me. and I feel like I gain a lot of clarity at that time of night. So I don't know if that resonates for you or not, cup of tea, but that's what I got for you in terms of the moonlight or the
Yeah,
natural
and we're
moonlight.
both kind of telling you, you don't have to push it and you don't have to buy your way in. You
Right.
are valuable enough. You don't need to worry about the other part of it.
Hi, Pura. Nancy Jean, my dear, thank you so much for being here.
No,
I
no
love
problem.
when you come and hang out with me, and I appreciate the fact that you've already read for, like 2 and a bit hours this morning. So thank you so much. Appreciate you. As always, Nancy
Mhm.
Jean's channel is in the description box below the video. Please do go show my friend some love. She is, I don't even know what word to use to describe how gifted and talented I think Nancy Jean is. She's the lady who taught me how to read tarot. She's my buddy. She's my friend. We hang out and we have a good time. And she knows much about many things. So she also has a website, which is called
crystaldirections.com. And if you go there, you can see all the different sorts of things I do. You can look up how to reach out to me for reading. And right now, since it's December, in December and January, I do 12-month readings where I lay 12 cards out and we talk about which months are going to be most important and how they're going to swing. And I just lay it out. People have to tell me later, but from what I understand, those are particularly enlightening and giving you some guidance for the next year. And next year is going to be the first 3 months of this coming year are going to be incredible, and then it's going to slow down a little bit. Thank God.
yeah. G. Covington says Nancy Jean is straight, no chaser kind of person. Absolutely.
No, I couldn't chase anyone anyway. I have artificial knees. But if you want to come over, I'm going to be doing a
I was
show.
just going to ask you what's coming up next for you.
Okay. I've got Tuesday, I'm doing something, and it may or may not be with Danny Shea. But Danny Shea and I are doing a show this coming week, and we've spent a couple of Zoom meetings talking about it. We're going to talk about all the energetics that we understand that we feel are pushing us to going into this incredible cycle of change and ascension and movement. And Danny and I got together after 8/8 Lionsgate in 2021 because I'd had a vision and he'd had a vision at the same time of humanity splitting into two paths, and one was going to go in one direction, the other was going to go in the other direction, and eventually within a year the chasm between the two would be too great and people had to you can't go make anybody else do something else. But part of what happened on 8/8 Lionsgate was we were told to discard all the stuff we didn't need anymore, and people were finding it easier to get rid of bad habits and bad people and see what's going on.
Yeah.
And we talked about why did time seem to be so out of sync. Time seemed to be moving so fast. Then in the last year, we had a little bit of time where time seemed to kind of slow down, and sort of for some people, it just kind of stopped, and that they just said, "I'm as far as I'm going."
Yeah.
Well, now starting on the winter solstice, if you don't know it, we have Earth energy lines called ley lines. At the solstices and the equinoxes, they go straight, and when they go straight, the whole Earth kind of goes boom.
Yeah.
And then energy starts moving again. So come over and hear about that. You can hear about my understanding of the elementals, which is the fairies and the gnomes and the dragons and the unicorns that are born out of our energy. So when you read about them, they're not all angelic. They're not all going to smile at you. They have temperaments just like we have. And then and study about earth energies. I think earth energies are it's the thing you can do for yourself in your own home, and figuring out if the space is positive or negative, and then learning how to cleanse it. I had a guy on last week, Tim Walter, who runs a place that teaches people how to do house cleansings in England. It was fascinating. So my job, according to my guide Addie, is when I first met her, she took me to this big closet, and I said, why am I here? And she said, open this door. And I opened it. It was just the biggest mess you've ever seen. I don't know if any of you are old enough to understand who Fibber McGee was, but he was a radio character that had this closet where everything would fall out on people from it. It looked like his closet. And I said, what's the deal? And she said, that's your job in this life, is to take people to that closet, open the doors, and say, here's how we can straighten it out.
Right.
And that's what I do.
And that's what she does. So do go check out Nancy Jean. Usually Tuesdays and Thursdays she's live. She's live on Sundays with Scott Spiritual Essence, doing political reads there. And I don't have anything that exciting coming up. I'm kidding. I always have stuff coming up. I don't know.
She's got tons of stuff. She's trying to book me in February for something else. So.
Yes. On Wednesday, I will be back live. Well, actually, I'll be back live Tuesday on Circle of Friends Tarot, which is my collaborative channel with Allie from Heart and Soul Connected. That's at 4 p.m. Eastern. We're doing, I can't remember what we're doing. We're doing something. We'll be there. Wednesday, I'm back at 2 p.m. Eastern with Ben from Beneficial Tarot. It's called Tea Time with Ben. It's a great laugh. We do lots of great readings there, so do tune in. And then on Friday, I have an interrogation, is my new show, my new segment, whatever you want to call it. All things tarot related we're discussing. And I've got one guest confirmed, and the other guest I'm still waiting to hear, so I'm not saying who it is yet, but I promise you it's a good one. So make sure you hit that bell notification so you don't miss any videos and you don't miss any notifications.
Join my channel so that you can get notified from there, and like, share, subscribe. I also sell some other things, that gardens and all kinds of fun stuff.
Kinds of fun stuff she does. She has the regular Oracle Garden, which is similar to the cloth that's on the table there that she does with crystals. So she gives readings with these, and she does crystal grids.
I have one more thing. The guy who does earth energies, he asked me why I hadn't built a grid for the earth.
Oh, neat. Yeah.
A personal grid. So I'm going to build the earth its own personal grid sometime in the next month.
Well, I was just going to say, if no one is familiar with Nancy Jean's crystal grids, Linda G actually has one in her background on her table beside her. If you've ever zoned in, you can see it on her side table there. It's a grid that Nancy Jean made for Linda G. Just as So, with that being said, we're going to let you guys go. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Have a fabulous day. And until we see each other again, we wish you many, many blessings. Thanks for hanging out with us. Mwah! From me to you.
Take care.
Bye, everybody.